Alright, I don't know when my other planned videos are going to happen, if they're going to happen at all. I've just been busy, but while I'm not going to be able to do those things right now, I did want to get my week 1 predictions up, at the very least, before the games tomorrow, because I didn't do it the first week. So, sorry about that. Let's run it down real quick. We got Kansas City at Cleveland. I went back and forth on this one. And the really hard part is you don't know what you're going to get from Jake Delhomme from game to game. And the way he blew that Tampa Bay game was right down there with Alex Smith, the way he played last week. Right down there with the way Trent Edwards played last week. It was as bad as anything I saw last week. Nothing was worse, definitively. But at the same time, he has good games too, and you just can't predict it. And at the end of the day, I went with Cleveland. I think Cleveland's going to win. Kansas City's coming off a very tough, emotional win against San Diego that they played late Monday night, and now they're playing an early Sunday game. I think that's going to be a little too much for them to overcome. I'm going to say Cleveland wins. Now we got the Baltimore Ravens at the Cincinnati Bengals. I went back and forth on this on a few times. I'm eventually settled on the Bengals, even though I think the Ravens are the better team. I have a feeling that without Ed Reed, it's going to be a little tougher for Baltimore. And Baltimore's coming off a Monday night game, too, where they went on the road. Very physical and tough game. They won, but they paid for it. They took all kinds of hard hits. That was a very rough game. And to me, that is going to wear them down. Just enough for Cincinnati to sneak in and get the win at home. Pittsburgh at Tennessee. Love Tennessee in this one. I actually really grew on Tennessee. I know it was Oakland, but they looked real good last week. I liked what I saw from them. I think they're going to be good this year. I am going to go with Tennessee. I feel very good about that. At home against Dennis Dixon, got to be Tennessee. Next up, we have the Chicago Bears at the Dallas Cowboys. If Dallas loses this game, their season's pretty much over because obviously they'd be 0-2, but they are not. In losing these first two games, they would show that they're just not a good team. So I think that with that must-win attitude, they go out there and blow the doors off Chicago. I think it's a blowout. That's the feeling I'm getting from this. Philadelphia Eagles at Detroit Lions. I feel for Detroit. They really should have won that game last week. They had it. And, Calvin Johnson needs to take a little bit of heat, too, because that really should have been a touchdown catch. I'll give you that any day of the week. But he should have held on to it a little longer than he did. He really should have. And, it's a lesson that he'll hopefully now learn and never do again. Because, he is everything you want from a wide receiver. I don't think it's a question of arrogance or cockiness or stupidity on his part. He just messed up, and it's a shame. But, I feel bad for them now because it really looks like they're going to start off 0-2. And, I don't think the Eagles are very good this year. I think they're rebuilding. I think they're going through a rough patch. But it's going to be fun to see Michael Vick go out there with a full game, a full slate of opportunities to prove himself. And I got the Eagles winning this one. I think they're good enough to beat Detroit, even in Detroit. So there you go. Buffalo at Green Bay. This is another blowout here. I'm sensing another blowout. In fact, here is my early game bet. I did throw out an early game bet. I have the Packers minus 14 and the Titans minus 6. That's a 2-game parlay. I'm going with the Packers minus 14, Titans minus 6. So that's my bet. We'll see how it works out. Those are the two early games I feel good about. But yeah, I think this is going to be some kind of 40-10 type of deal. It's going to be ugly. Miami at Minnesota. I went back and forth on this one a little bit because I like Miami this year. I think they're a decent team. I don't know about Minnesota right now. They might just not be very good, and we don't know yet. And, the thing with Vegas is if you can figure out teams before Vegas does, that's your opportunity to make money. At the end of the day, I went with Minnesota to win, though. I think we know pretty well that they have talent at several positions. We know that they have a good defensive line, and that could not possibly have changed yet. We know that they have Adrian Peterson. We know they have that offensive line, which is good for the most part. You know, we have questions of, is their quarterback any good? Are their wide receivers any good because they don't have Sidney Rice? Is their secondary still good to some extent? We don't know yet. I'm going to go ahead and pick them for this game, but I'm very interested to see what Minnesota does over the next couple weeks because I don't know about them. I would not be surprised at all if they ended up being just an average team. Moving on, we have Arizona at Atlanta. The Matt Ryan thing, it's bugging me. He was real good his rookie year, and I've had so many good things to say about the guy, but I have to say, I don't think he's getting much better. His rookie year, he impressed me. I'm not sure he's getting better. It just feels like he's stuck in that same area where he'll make mistakes, but we forgive him for it because he's young, just like we did his rookie year. By now, we should not be okay with him making 1 or 2 mistakes a game, which he does. I like so many things about his game. I like how he's willing to throw the ball away instead of throwing a stupid interception. I like how quickly he gets the ball out. But, that game against Pittsburgh last week, to me, you find a way to beat Pittsburgh without Roethlisberger. To me, I know they're still a good team without him, but you have to find a way to take advantage of the fact that they're starting Dennis Dixon and win. And to me, the fact that they didn't reflects poorly on them, and I have soured on them a little bit. However, you could not possibly sour on a team more than Arizona last week, where, Derek Anderson's just maybe one of the 3 worst starting quarterbacks in the league. So, Atlanta's the pick. I'm still pretty confident they'll win that one. Tampa Bay at Carolina. I hate this game. I think Matt Moore's starting. Who cares? Yeah, this really feels like a game where Tampa Bay will play a much more professional, composed game, but Carolina will win because they have better talent. They have those running backs. They have Steve Smith. They have that fairly talented defense. So I'm going to go with Carolina. Seattle at Denver. It's Mile High. It's going to be tough going into Mile High to win. Denver has to win to keep their season alive because if they lose, they're kind of sunk at 0-2 with the schedule they're looking at to some extent. It's just hard to dig yourself out of 0-2. But you know what? I don't think Denver's very good this year, so why not? Okay, I'm picking Seattle. Why not? I'll keep picking them until they lose. I'll pick them until they give me a reason to pick against them. Why not? I didn't have too much confidence in them last week. They went above the expectations, proved me wrong. I'll reward that for a little bit. St. Louis at Oakland. Oh boy. I'm going to go with Oakland. I think they have more stability. Jason Campbell's not good, but I would rather have him right now than Sam Bradford in the short term. They have McFadden, who, okay, I wouldn't rather have McFadden than Steven Jackson, but I actually think McFadden's going to have a good game tomorrow, and okay, I'll pick Oakland. I don't know. New England at the New York Jets. I am going to go with New England. I don't know about the Jets. I was not high on them in the preseason. I was not high on them in the offseason at all. And what I saw from them on Monday night did nothing to change my mind. I just don't see what the big deal is about them for the most part. So, yeah, New England it is. I think it's actually not going to be that close. Don't really like what I see from the Jets. Jacksonville at San Diego. I thought about Jacksonville for a minute because they might not be bad. San Diego might not be good. Lots of things in play here, but Jacksonville going all the way out to the West Coast, it's not going to happen. San Diego wins. And, they have to win. Houston at Washington. Houston is getting overrated to hell after what happened in Week 1. Yeah, they played great, but it's Week 1. Everybody needs to slow down. There is no way in hell Houston should be favored in this game. I don't get it. Washington wins. I think it's going to be a good game. But how did Houston get favored in this one? I don't get it. Yeah, they did great in week 1. Everybody slow down with week 1 overreactions. I'm just saying. The Giants going to Indianapolis. Indy's got to win. Indy's got to win. If they don't, it's panic time. It's going to get ugly. And, the Colts have now lost the last 2 games they played. There's no way in hell. Colts win. I think it's actually going to not even be that close. And let's wrap it up on Monday night. We have the 49ers hosting the New Orleans Saints. And to any of you Niners fans out there, and we got some really good Niners fans on YouTube, the Niner Empire, they show up. They got a pretty big group of guys out there for a team that hasn't been to the playoffs in some time, but I got to give them credit for that. Y'all better go tomorrow on Sunday, skip the early games, go to church, give your 10%, because if the Niners, I'm going to say get blown out, because, they could lose, but play a good game and it might be fine. But if they get killed, like, the Saints seem likely to do, it's going to be very ugly in that locker room, because this whole week, after what they did last week, was mess after mess after mess with the offensive coordinator thing, Jimmy Ray, with the all the interviews, the articles written. It's been a mess, top to bottom, and if they don't get back on track against the Saints, it's going to get ugly. So to all you Niners fans, might want to skip the early games, go to church, give your 10% or whatever you do, because you're going to need it. Because if things don't go reasonably well on Monday, Tuesday morning, probably not going to be pretty. So those are my picks, and I guess I'll see you guys after the games.